And we're live today with another season of One, The Warriors of Now, with Eric and I. And we have a very special guest today, my friend I found here in Dayton, Ohio, Larry Pacifico, become a dear friend, a powerlifting legend. And we thought, who better not to be a part of our first episodes to highlight the importance of mental performance and, capacity to endure under challenges and persevere and basically be a shining light both on stage with competition and with a very shining, amazing coaching career. So welcome, Larry. And I'm here in obviously next to Larry, hanging out.
Yeah.
And Eric, the whole concept of athleticism in terms of the individual starting on whatever level when they're young to find interest in kind of the movement in a particular sport. I know you have 3 children, and that I'm curious to understand. We'll get to Larry. I know that my interest started playing street ball and playing neighborhood games. Did a little organized athletics. And then I decided I probably wanted to be a tennis player or a bicyclist because I was a free-form solo guy. And how about you, Eric? How did you discover or help support the young ones get into their realms?
So my wife and I both grew up with sports. I had a little more blended background. I also did a little charcoal, a little watercolors. It never really stuck for me, but I loved to read and I love doing creative writing and poetry and things like that. In addition to the fact that from the time I was that big, I played a lot of sports. My dad was a college athlete. He was a wrestler at Maryville. My uncle played soccer at UNC Chapel Hill, and my grandfather played baseball for Pitt. So sports have always really been part of what we did, and I can't remember a time where sports wasn't important, whether it was playing catch or I had one of those little plastic Fisher-Price basketball hoops that are like, that tall, that seemed massive when I was, a toddler that I would dunk on. So I grew up playing it, and, I was fortunate enough. I'm still old enough that I remember playing at the YMCA, at the local rec center, at the park. I played in organized rec leagues. I worked my way up to club level. I had some opportunities to play in college. I chose not to, but it was always there for me. My wife, she's a Hall of Famer. She's in her high school Hall of Fame. She was a standout softball player, a standout basketball player, grew up in sports. She was the only athlete in her family, but it was her through and through. So when we got together, got married, had kids, from day one, I was already coaching. I'd been coaching for years before we had our first son. So he grew up going to the ice rink, going to the baseball field, going to the softball field. He always had time at the gym. Sorry, I got to mute that. Thought I was already muted. He always had time going to the gym with me. I was part of a mixed martial arts program at the time where I was helping coach those guys. And so he was hanging out at the gym while, we were with guys who were doing combat sports and strength training. So they've just always had it. It's always been there. And we didn't push it with our kids. It wasn't like, you're going to be, in fact, I discouraged them from playing baseball and softball as primary sports because they're so hard mentally, and their skills are so refined physically. And of course, all 3 now are primary baseball and softball players. They also dabble in basketball, and they're tall. My 13-year-old daughter's 5'9" and still growing. My 15-year-old son is 6'4". He's grown an inch in the last 3 months. My 18-year-old is just shy of 6'5". My wife's 6 foot tall. So we had like that DNA background to kind of fit into that world.
What kind of genetics?
So, long story, not quite so long. It's just, we've always watched it. We've always gone to it. We've always participated. It's not the thing in our lives, but it is omnipresent. It's always somewhere around.
Right. It's like a baseline energy structure, goal setting. Larry, what about, Larry's son, we'll get into Larry's career and his accomplishments, but Larry, what about your son, and how do you kind of recognize where his sweet spot was and his potential?
Well, Jimmy, he came, almost 45 when Jimmy was born. So he's he's with an older father normally. That it would be. I've had other kids that were 20 years older than Jimmy. But anyway, with Jimmy, he just saw what I would watch on TV, what I would do in the gym or in the garage, and he just kind of gravitated toward what Daddy did. I'm a shot put discus track. I was a track star back in high school, but I always thought that I would teach Jimmy how to throw, even though Jimmy's only 5'9", really 5'8", and that's not going to be he can be great, but he can't be what we call an Olympic athlete because he's too short. But anyway, I enjoyed what gymnastics did for him early on. All my kids got into gymnastics to start their foundation: agility, speed, coordination, flexibility, strength. And if they did gymnastics, they would be better basketball players, better powerlifters, better baseball players. And I always encourage young kids, get 3 or 4 years of gymnastics when they're really young, and that sets up their basic background for any other sport as far as accomplishing those things that you need, which is speed, strength, flexibility, etc. So anyway, Jimmy turned out to be the greatest shot put thrower ever in Ohio high school history. He has set the state record.
Wow.
And
I thought he was too short. Did you tell me he was too short?
Yeah, can you imagine? But
he overcame.
Yeah, he did overcome. But
he's like, you tell me I can't do it.
Well, I challenged him.
I love it.
I didn't push him, but I did challenge him. And once we got to a point where we go to a high school, I said, Jimmy, the field record here is this in the shot, this in discus. And he would make sure that he would eventually break those because he started as a freshman. And he could have won the freshman state. He could have won a sophomore, junior, and senior. He did win junior and senior years. But anyway, he would always try to beat the best, even though he was genetically quite not good for the sport. It's like a 5'9" basketball player. He's going to be good, but some of them are great, but they'll never make the big time unless you're Spud Webb or some of those little guys.
Yeah. But,
that 1% of the 1%.
Yeah. What makes me think, Eric, is that, from my perspective as the balance professor in my work, I never even thought of that because, I'm this flat-footed kid that played street ball that soon found that he can't cut and turn and twist and be that wide receiver. Hence the bicycling. Anyway, what a great, the gymnastics, what a great base dynamic to own body weight training, proprioception, right? Self-awareness, preening and pruning and fine tuning, that mind connection of true, what that potential is at such an early age. Mm-hmm. And we know that strength development and the ligaments are still growing until, through their early teen years. So what are your thoughts about that? It's like a genius in terms of, I believe, it's great. It should be like a little asterisk in every athletic program.
Yeah.
Roll and tumble.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it immediately went back in my head to when I was a kid, and there was always these legends, these stories of football players taking ballet or football players taking dance.
Really?
Why? Because footwork is so important.
Exactly.
And you say, well, these big macho guys, they can't be doing that. But I'll tell you, there was a UFC fighter that I have known for years, and I don't know how public the knowledge is, so I won't throw his name out there. But he had a 12-year career at the UFC. He was a pretty darn good fighter. He was not only a high school but also a college cheerleader, in addition to being one heck of a collegiate wrestler. And I can't help but think his ability to move around the cage was directly related to the fact that he had the coordination not only to stand out there on the sidelines, but to throw somebody up and catch them and to move around and do the dance moves. I mean, look, it's not the machoist thing to be a cheerleader, but the balance and skill required to move your body like that, it helps you in everything else you do. So I think tumbling is an excellent early class for everybody.
It makes me think of when you think about the fighter, right? And you're on your feet, and it's like the offensive, when the offensive hands, all the offensive linemen, defense, are playing a hand game. Can you imagine, like, the fighting game, where not only are you avoiding, but you've been manipulating, it's like you said, Eric, throwing around a body with your arms and manipulating and making decisions. And now you only have to worry about this guy's hands. That is special, right? That's pretty incredible.
It is. And when I was a young athlete, I did gymnastics and track and field. I was a long jumper. I ran the 100-yard dash back in my day. Tells you how old I am. And that made me have a good foundation. And I could outswim our top swimmer in high school, even though I didn't go off of swimming. I could do the 50-yard swim faster than the school record. I just never got in the competition. But in other words, if you learn how to swim, you got all that background and coordination, strength, flexibility. You can jump in the water and swim as good as anybody. And I did.
So,
I love cross training. So, where my kids are right now, I'll give a little shout out to Athletes Acceleration. It's a strength conditioning, speed training. I mean, they work with them on everything like that.
Yeah.
And my oldest boy, recently, did a standing broad jump, and I believe the note I got was 10 foot 8 inches for a kid who never did. When he was in 8th grade, he ran track and he asked to try out for long jump and high jump and was declined. They had him do the 4x8. But he made it a mission to get good at jumping. And
very good.
Yeah. He's getting there. He's getting there. It's a lot of fun.
Part of the president's program. But all that stuff's good. I had Jimmy doing standing triple jumps when he was really a little, like 6 years old, and that developed his speed. Jimmy could have won the 100-meter dash at our school because he was that fast. But anyway, we decided to throw, and the rest is history.
Nice.
I love it. Now, in my day, I never heard of this, but what they've started doing with them as far as cross training for jumping, they have them do a box jump, and then they come off the box into the ground into the long jump or into the broad jump. Sorry if I got the terminology wrong there. So it's like you prep jump,
eccentric low,
which is great for burst. I'd never ever in my life heard of that. And they have them doing that now as part of their standard routine, not just to get good with jumping from a static position, but to get jumping from movement. And that's where you start organizing and moving in all these different things, because you have to have the balance to land on that box without breaking your head like I probably would. And then the burst to get off of it and get going again. So
Jimmy,
I love these integrated exercises that exist now. And like your beam, I mean, your beam offers all these integrated exercises. Sorry to do a quick promo for you. I just love it. I love where sports have gone, because athletics has changed so much in the last 20 years to mix and integrate and be accepting of these different disciplines. I've got baseball players doing yoga. It's amazing to me what's happening.
So, Larry, you've mentioned countless, you've mentored countless lifters, right?
Yeah.
Throughout your career.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what qualities tell you someone has that potential, to become not only a great athlete, but like even a good leader, like also like maybe a coach, or they have that kind of drive and that kind of focused effort.
Yeah. To develop a power lifter, you have to look for the qualities. Short is better because this is to travel that bar. isn't that great. Squat. I could always squat a lot because I was 5'6" in high school, and so therefore I could bench press more than everybody else because it was a shorter stroke. And the deadlift was a challenge. Usually taller folks could deadlift more, but I developed my back early on as a gymnast. So I had all three of the lifts that were way above the standard. And being short stroke, and then having a strong back because of gymnastics, I could deadlift with the best.
So that physiology, and then,
Right.
what kind of, how much do you recognize, or does it stand out when you start talking with the young person, or like in terms of their mental performance side, like what their attitude is,
Yeah, it depends on their sport. High school, and around here, powerlifting is not a sport. You get out to the boondocks. When I say boondocks, places like Franklin, Ohio, and Bell Fountain, Canton, Ohio. The smaller schools, powerlifting is the biggest sport. So I did a lot of talking early on at those schools, and once they knew that powerlifting was part of the curriculum, well, then I ran into a lot of good kids. I would look for shorter powerlifters and those who had speed. And if I put that together, they turned out to be great lifters.
Nice. Larry, even looking back over your career, I mean, incredible. 9-time world powerlifting champion. This is amazing. Concurrent. What legacy, do you hope future generations will remember? Not about your championships, but about the person, behind them.
Well, I got a little carried away with winning world titles. I won all 9 of the championships rather easily. The 10th one was a challenge because a month before I cut that finger off in a bench press accident, and therefore that made me not be able to go out for my title. So once I got away from winning because of an injury, I just kind of gave up on the goal of winning 15 world titles. That was my goal.
Wow.
And there's a couple of young boys that have done it. A little Japanese guy and a American guy named Lamar Gant. Both 114, 123 pounders. But Lamar won 16, and Adaki Inaba from Japan won 15. But they were in the lighter classes. There wasn't a lot of competition, but the records they put up will never be broken.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. Well, I've got a question for you. I'm going to go off script here a little bit. I've got a catcher. He's significantly undersized. Sorry, Asher. It's true. And I'm going to direct him to this conversation. So what our goal for Asher, and I've been talking to his dad about this, is between now and the end of the year, we'd like him to put on 15 pounds of muscle. He's an undersized catcher, lean through the body. And to be a really good catcher and a really good baseball player, he's going to have tree trunks. He's going to have power in his core and in his base. And he's dedicated. He's ready to do it. He's already one of the hardest working kids I know. And what advice would you have for him, to push through that wall that we all hit as you're trying to grow your strength and trying to develop that powerful core? And he's 15. He'll be playing 16U this year. And I'd love to hear what you think.
Does he lift weights now?
He does.
And what year is he in?
He'll be a sophomore.
Good, so we got some time. Well, he's got to learn how to squat, and he's got to do squats and more squats. The various stances, from narrow stance to extremely wide stance, that'll develop the glutes to get big and thick and tight and strong. And being a catcher, being down behind the plate like that in a squat position, once he starts doing squats, he'll be overwhelmed at how much better he can throw that ball from a squatting position to second base, first base, third base. he will develop a lot of size and extremely amount of strength. If you squat, you'll curl more. If you squat, you'll bench press more. It just develops overall body strength. So he's how old now? 13?
15.
15. Well, he can squat, get started on squats and just do a crash course. I would suggest him give me a call. I would give him the routine, but he can develop a great deal of strength and a lot of size. You know what he weighs right now?
I don't. I'm going to tell you. I think he is somewhere in the 5'4". And looking at him, I'd guess 140. It would be my guess.
Well, we can take him to 175 just by doing squats. And we got a couple years to do it before he's a senior, and who knows what it will develop. He'll hit better by doing squats. Just depends on his ability to time, eyeball coordination, that kind of thing. But if he's a catcher, he can be a better catcher if he squats.
Hey, well, I appreciate that, and he's a great kid, and that's one of my most important attributes. Smart ball player, but great kid, hard worker. He's going to watch this video clip. What's that?
His name's Asher?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you right now, in the camera, Asher, lucky you hit it on the mark, buddy. Larry will set you up, so we'll take care of that. We'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you very much, Larry. That's very nice.
I appreciate that, Larry, and it's great advice too, because it's one thing for me or his dad to tell him that, but we're just who we are. To hear that from a champion and a guy who's been there, done that, really, Asher, listen, it's there for you, buddy. You've got the skills. You just got to get the strength.
Yeah.
So, I think, Eric, we discussed, about the question of what kind of questions were you asking yourself, Larry, like before you stepping up to, your until platform of that world championship, right? Obviously you're under enormous pressure. What's in your head at that time?
Visual, mentally, me doing 3 repetitions. If I can get to the platform or on deck, wherever, if I can visualize me doing what I need to do on the platform, then I can go out and perform it pretty easily. Like if I was going for a world record, I set 54 world records, and the ability to concentrate and visualize the movement helped a great deal. And so same with a baseball player. If he goes up and visualizes hitting that ball, connecting with that ball, whether he's trying to place it right, left, or center, or whatever. It's just a matter of the ability to go within the mind and visualize what you want to do. And usually you can go out and do it.
That visionary, we talked about this, Eric, that visionary potential.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
So let me ask you, Larry, taking that one step further, when we do our visualizations, we tend to get that temporary burst of motivation. But how did you make that sustainable? How did you make that confidence part of who you were, as opposed to just the reaction to that motivational moment you were having?
Well, I go out there knowing that I've done it before. I did it in training. I should go out there and beat the world record because, usually I held the world record already. I would see myself doing 5 or 10 pounds above what I've already done. So the idea that I've done it already, I should be able to go out there and perform it, especially if there's a crowd to motivate me. Hearing somebody stand and cheer for you, it's just a great thing. In 1979, I promoted the World Championships here in Dayton, Ohio, at the Convention Center. Usually at a national meet or a world meet, you'll probably get 1,000 spectators. Well, in Dayton, because it's my hometown, we had 7,000 people watch that World Championships. And to walk out on a platform when you're only used to a few hundred, maybe 1,000, and to see that many people in the audience, and you're up on the platform, the overwhelming feeling in the body is just enormous. So you got to be able to perform for them because they're standing and cheering for you, that kind of thing. And that motivated me tremendously.
That's I'd have to think.
That's amazing.
I'd have to think that's like worth 20 extra pounds.
That's right. That's right.
One.
In some cases, it was, especially to the other lifters, because they weren't used to it either. They'd been around. They traveled the world with me at other championships, and they saw 1,000 people. Maybe that was remarkable. But when you see 6,000, 7,000 people out there, it really motivates you to go.
No coach's pregame speech quite can compete with that.
Yeah.
Just going to own that right now. I can't give that to you.
To this day, they still call the 79 Worlds here in Dayton, Ohio, the greatest powerlifting meet ever.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I got to ask. I never won at the level you won at, and but still, I find myself too often tying who I am to the success of my teams. How did you, when your competition stopped and you had the injury and you could no longer pursue your ultimate goal of being the ultimate winner, how did you maintain your confidence and your identity as a person when you no longer had winning everything as your primary objective in life?
Well, I had a big ego back in those days. And I did. But I was humble as well. If you can remember to be humble and continue to do what made you famous, teach it, coach it, that set me still at a level that I kept going for another 15, 20 years. And people would come from around the world to live in Dayton for a week or two just to train with me and my team, because they could learn a lot. And I could teach it very well and motivate very well. So that's what kept me going, is coaching.
Nice.
That's awesome. Okay, so from that standpoint, as a coach, if you could go back, talk to your 18-year-old self, your 20-year-old self, what would you have coached yourself to do a little different than you actually did when you went through it yourself?
I would avoid the injuries.
Yeah, right.
I had 18 orthopedic surgeries, and I would avoid certain movements that set me up. My elbows are shot, completely gone. I've had 7 surgeries on the elbows. I've had 11 surgeries on the shoulders, that kind of thing. So I would avoid doing heavy skull crushers. Skull crushers are good, but not to do them as crazy as I did them. In other words, I would keep the body healthier by doing less of the things that injured me.
Okay, that's awesome. That hits a little close to home. I love it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't even know how to even address the idea of even mention the word failure or setbacks. Besides having an injury of his, freak accident of your bench pressing, right? Accident. Yeah. Like, this guy didn't have any setbacks or any failures. I mean, he probably would have did 15 or 20. I'm convinced you would have had 20 of them.
I could have probably won 12 or 15 more, or 12 total, or 15 more total. But I started to break down, and as I broke down, the young guys were coming up, young guys that I was coaching, to come up and beat my numbers. So it was my world records. There's only one standing after all of that time. I'm 80 years old now, and I retired from the sport at 45, 46. So all my records have been broken except one. But
which one is that?
Well, it happened to be a double deadlift.
Yeah, easy. Yeah.
Yeah. But me and Jen Todd's a powerlifting great female from the past. She and I did the promotion for the 79 Worlds. We did 1,105 pounds together in the deadlift. I had a special bar made, and we set the world record. Nobody's come close to it since. It's been tried, it hasn't been beaten.
Wow.
But it was fun.
So I'm curious, and I'm sure you can identify with this. Eric on a level, like with all your coaching, he's here in Ohio, Northern Ohio. Southeastern Ohio, Southwestern Ohio, sorry, in Dayton, and on the north side. And, Larry, what are the kinds of things you see early? Like, and I know you're a supportive coach. You have a whole coaching team, other guys that you've coached that help assist him to coach. And what are the common things that you experience with young people today, like both when they come in, any challenges physically and or their mental side of like that, that grit ready to go, like they're curious, and what do you find is the biggest thing on their minds?
Well, they come to learn to improve their total, meaning just 3 lifts, squat, bench, and deadlift, and they have a total in mind that they want to reach. And we look at their lifts, find out which is their best lift, which is their second best lift, and of course the third best. And we develop those to out total his PR, personal record. And I'd say me and another guy used to do weekend seminars where people would come in on a Friday night and stay till Sunday morning, and we work with them. And at one time we had 30 people come in for the weekend seminars, and that was a little too many, but at the same time, that was the atmosphere that they needed to be under to see that kind of knowledge that could be passed on to the groups. And but when they left, they all would eventually do a lot better. They would break their total records within 6 months of visiting our weekend seminar. And then some of them went on to be world champions. I can give you a lot of examples.
Mm-hmm. So, Eric, what comes to mind with me, and, you're familiar now with the beam work and the balance stuff that I'm doing and presenting, and we will be presenting, to understand the importance of that. We mentioned before cross training, and the fact that, he is actually obviously the king of powerlifting and the GOAT. Being able to bring that such a level of high intensity, and then being able to bring in this other modality of balance work and proprioception, and putting athletes have these options of these cross training techniques to complement that intense lifting, to complement their in-season or off-season programs strength-wise. And it's what I find what helps two things. I believe it's a real, it takes such focus that you have to take your mind off of that powerlifting time. You have to take a time off your skills on the field, and you're put under extreme conditions of decision making, and in a totally highly collaborative, right, essential in an environment where, like, okay, if I can get through this and collaboratively move through this smoothly and explode through these and learn how to, like, understand that fine tuning of what you're capable of, that's one of the things I think that's most powerful about my program, in that, obviously, as you mentioned, Eric, earlier, that, sports training we've come such a long way in sports medicine and concepts and different ways to look at things where, you're not making sure you're not overtraining. And so, I wanted Eric to comment a little bit about his time experience so far on the base program, and how we're looking to integrate that into overall.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that the base program had a strong potential to complement powerlift, every athlete in every realm, to kind of, like, as he mentioned, all the surgeries, just something to maybe advance and help, stimulate both the mental side, the realization that there is always a challenge there for you, and that kind of ultimate strength prevention and longevity, but during careers and after careers.
Right. I wish.
Well, to me, that there's 3 elements that everything needs when you talk about athletics. You have to have core strength, right? There's no way being successful without core strength. You have to have flexibility if you want to avoid injuries. And then you have to have good balance. If you have those three things, you can specialize beyond that. But you need those three things to be successful. I don't care if you're powerlifting, playing tennis, playing baseball, you need those in every aspect of athletics. And I think that
gymnastics brings all of those things.
all of those things. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's where the beam comes from. That it's a fundamental.
And you'll be surprised by showing these kids gymnastics to help develop their basketball game. Some of them wind up being gymnastics champions because they discovered something different, something new. And I wish cross training had been around when I was young. I mean, I could do all of that stuff later, way above the average, except I was just too short to do some of the stuff. But I was fast. I had flexibility. I had great core strength. I could do an iron cross on the still rings for 30 seconds. Yeah.
I have to mention a couple things. Number one, the Beam program, and people who have seen the videos or actually been on it, they realize that obviously it's time under tension. You're on your feet. You have to deal with your core. You're in an ultimate collaborative state. And I literally have athletes have them do everything from therapeutic band work on their shoulders and their right, or to having them kettlebells in their one arm or whatever, both arms for strength, and that quickness of explosiveness. And you'll enjoy this. I only focus on 6 explosive reps, right? Put them under time, under tension, learn it. And then they realize like, wow, if you can't do it slow, you're not going to be able to do it fast. And you're literally neurally going through those ranges of motion under stress in those joints, that you have this historic, even the mind and on a neural level, you're like, wow, they can do this. It's been there or whatever. And that integrity. And I have to mention something about circuit training is that my mentors, which I consider Larry one of my mentors, in a lot of ways, both sport and on the human level. My mentor was a gentleman named John Blevernick, and his mentor was a guy named Bob Guida. Okay.
Mr. America.
Mr. America. Okay. Bob Guida. I don't even realize this till later in my career, Eric, not just recently. I didn't realize that my mentor, John Blevernick, who turned me on to the concept of the beam, it was kind of some subtle principles from Bob Guida, who used to train LA pitcher, Don Mattingly. No,
Drysdale.
I can't remember if I'm not going to say.
Back in his day, it would have been Drysdale.
Yeah. Anyway, he also trained Larry Blyer from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Anyway, I come to find out Bob Guida was Mr. America, and he actually created circuit training. He was one of the first pioneers in concepts of circuit training, and he would bodybuilding. He ended up training Arnold and a number of other top bodybuilders. And I didn't even realize this. I'm a young kid coming out of advertising. John Blevernick sees me and sees my enthusiasm about being in fitness and being wellness. I learn his concepts, and the rest is history. And I like to think that we carry on, right? The legacy of the next generation of passing on these things. And I look forward to coaching and empowering coaches with my programs, and doing a big shout out to my mentors. And again, we know that my Imagine Fitting In podcast is all about mentors, healthy lives and community.
Yeah.
So Eric, I mean, how are mentors playing out? And you see in your world of sports and the mental performance side. And I know you just wrote a book, Capacity. So we want to know some more about that. And I know Larry wants to know more.
I'd love to read that. Your daughter.
All right. So I got my 2 books here that I'm really talking about, and Capacity is my core book, and this is all about mental strength, and this is aimed at athletes. However, it's functional for coaches, and the group that I think I want to reach the most with this is actually parents, because who is a bigger mentor in a child's life than their parent? They see them 24 hours a day, and if they can understand what that athlete is going through and how to make them stronger, they can integrate these tools into their daily lives. And so this book, while we call it athlete facing, is really about teaching those mental tools to everybody in their world, in their universe, so that it becomes part of their daily lives. And then this is a young adult fiction book. It's about a basketball player named Tito. These are composite characters, and what I mean by that is everybody in here is based around people that I've really worked with and I've known. No single character is a person. Tito isn't one guy and I just told his story. He's pieces of people, so that I could create this universe that I'm writing these stories in that take the concepts from here and secretly teach them in here through storytelling. There's no blunt lectures. There's no coach who gets up in front and explains everything that's going on in the mental performance of this athlete. It just tells their story. And the hope is that you accidentally learn something while having fun exploring the CCS universe. And so that's kind of where I've gone. And I'm doing that based on advice from a mentor. Dr. Tom Hansen is a longtime pioneer in mental performance for athletes, particularly in baseball, having worked for multiple professional organizations and been a college coach. And when he read my early writings, he was like, well, what are you going to do with this? Who's going to read this? And he didn't mean that as an insult. It hurt my feelings a little bit, but he's being blunt and honest with me. It's like, okay,
how do you get it out?
This is a textbook. Who wants to read a textbook? So I started looking more at his books and what he's done with success. And what I realized is that I needed to tap into the other part of my existence, my creative aspects, not my instructor background. So there we go. Dr. Tom told me to do better, and I'm going to try to do better.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that grand adventure, right? Learning those discoveries through each young person's everybody's on, the grand adventure. Some pathways are lit and well lit. We have those broad and available to us. Some are like, to each his own. I mean, it's sort of like that. You know what I relate that to, Larry, is like, did you end up developing like this mental performance side of like these rituals of like what time you woke up, what do you have for breakfast before you competed or something like that? All those things.
I learned a lot of my mental abilities on the platform from a guy named Frank Zane, three-time Mr. Olympia. He and I became friends, and I used to go to California all the time and train with him. And he says, if you can visualize doing that lift 10 times in your mind before anything breaks your concentration, then you're ready to go on the platform. I could never get to 10. I got to 7 and 8, and he was able to get to 10. And it's hard when you think about it, to visualize 10 reps mentally.
Uninterrupted.
Uninterrupted.
In your own mind.
And then, but with the pressure on,
yeah,
you got to be out there in 2 minutes. You got to be able to visualize all this within 2 minutes because you're on deck, whatever. But he did teach me how to do that. And I got to, like several reps. And I was a better lifter because of that ability to visualize and see the lift done 7, 8, 9 times. So anyway, Frank Zane was quite a guy. Still is.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I think visualization might be the most misunderstood of the mental performance tools because it has a reputation for being hippy dippy. Like it's one of these things where people are like, oh, you're just imagining success. Well, your brain controls everything your body does.
Yeah.
You're not imagining success in a negative way. You're teaching your brain to perform so your body can listen to it. And I love to hear stories of the challenges of visualization because it's not easy. If you're doing it right, it's not easy.
Your daughter is in a good position because she's got 2 older brothers performing in the same sport. She can pick up a lot, learn a lot. I'm sure she has already, but she may wind up being your greatest athlete out of your family because if she wants to be, if she can watch what her brothers do, I'm sure her brothers are very protective of her, and right now may not be the case, but once they all leave the house, she will tell you that that I enjoyed my older brothers because they helped me, and I was a better performer out there in the field. Because
They push her hard, and it reflects in everything she does, especially in basketball, where at 5'9", she's the tallest girl, but her brothers are significantly bigger than her. So she's used to having to push against these walls of men just to be part of it.
But all three of your kids, you start squatting. Squatting, more squats. They will become much better in their sport. Trust me, even your daughter. Most people don't want to squat because they get a big butt. Well, they get a strong butt.
She wants a bigger butt. Actually, that's a funny point, because my middle boy has a badonkadonk. I mean, he's got he's a good sized kid. He's 6'4", 220.
That's where I was
built like a fire hydrant. He's powerful. And my oldest one is only $170 at 6'5", and my daughter, I'm gonna say 115 at 5'9". She's built like her older brother. And they all want that butt because it's the motor, it's the strength core. It's
the big house. The big house.
I used to do lunges, lunge walks, and squats.
Absolutely. I tell you, my oldest boy, he loves a squat that I've never in my life done. I never heard of it when I was younger. A split squat.
Oh yeah.
And he likes to do goblet squats. And I mean, that didn't exist in my youth. I'd never heard of those things. So it's cool to me how many of those exercises exist. But to your point, I think good old fashioned squats just bring the power. They bring the horsepower.
Three, just close, medium, and then turn the toes out and go real wide. All three they should do a minimum of 4 sets per workout. 4 sets.
Absolutely.
10 to 12 reps.
You hear that? I got Joe, Lucas, Lydia. You got listening? Yeah. When this goes live, you can't say you weren't told.
Well, listen, I'll go back. We talk about that, that variety of our training, our conditioning, excuse me, conditioning and balancing out a well-rounded athlete in mind, body, right? In your head, like that spiritual, that well, I'm not say spirit, but that mental state of when we talk about visualization and the concept of, when we say the word visualization, I mean, to an essence, you are being within yourself in your mind. And that is kind of a form of meditation. And I think that people also hear that word. I mean, visualization and meditation should be put in the same exact, couple lines of like, okay, this is how, like, I can describe how I go about it. And I'll give you an example of one of the most basic ways that I think can be powerful for young people is that you just literally sit somewhere and in a quiet space, right? And you're just trying to like think about nothing.
No screens.
Yeah, no screens. Ideally, nature was beautiful, right? Yep. Somewhere you're uninterrupted. And it's hard because what you want to do, right? You want to completely empty your mind and you're focusing on your breath. Every time a thought comes in your head, right, that takes you off of this kind of like you being really present. Every time you have a thought that comes in like, oh, I have to go pay that bill, or I have to get to that class, or that paper's due, you just go back to your breath. And you just do that on a daily routine every day. And it is difficult. Like he said, it was difficult for him to do that 10 times, especially before on the stage. And there's 7,000 roaring outside the stage, right? When you get on, and the ability to be that focused. And I think what we were talking about before, when you said the hippy dippy, that visualization, which Larry enjoys, it's like you are neurally, right, putting in that conscious or unconscious mind a base level of belief of like potential. And if you can't own that, and a lot of people don't realize that sets the stage underlying when you're walking around, it's there within you. When it gets in there, it doesn't never leave. And here's the thing. People get clouded by and everybody has to find their own methodology of There's so many books on meditation techniques, but this is the simplest way that I would be sitting in Lake Michigan. I'd see the light ripples roll up on the shore. and I would just try to empty my mind. And I had some of the most amazing ideas come to me about issues in my life and things that I was facing and solutions when I just stepped away from everything, and you see clearer and clearer.
Well, you've got the ability to do that. You're a songwriter. His songs are amazing, by the way. But Frank Zane would say, find a quiet space, learn how to breathe, how to meditate, how to visualize. Once you get to 1 or 2 performances in your mind, you can then go on to 3 and so on. I think Frank got carried away. I think he said 10 reps in your mind. I can only get to 7 or 8, and I tried it for years. And I think 6 is the ultimate goal. And if you go 7 to 10, that's great. But the point is, control your breathing. Core strength is everything. Develop your core. The next most important part of the body, besides squats, is core exercises. Develop that, and you'll run faster, jump farther, hit farther.
Larry sees me. Larry sees me with, the stuff I do with my clients, and it's all that's core related, right? And we're trying to decipher like what's going on in there. And it's funny, he said about Frank Zane, like, you need 10 times, right? So, and I mentioned 6 reps for power, right? I want you to be able to do something explosive 6 times in a row, and then we move on to the next progression, right? The next challenge. Yep. And show it to me smooth, but I always have everybody do 7.
Yeah.
And what you do is you tell them you want them to give you 6, and then they give you 6. You're like, I need 1 more.
Yeah. Well, it works. Frank Zane was probably going, I'm going to guarantee this dude is going to hit his mark. He only needs 6. I'm going to tell him 10. It worked.
That was his method. And,
okay.
He was amazing. He was Mr. Olympia, weighing less than 180 pounds 3 times in a row.
Are you shitting me?
78, 79, 77, 78, and 79.
Less than 180 pounds? Mm-hmm. That's like, that's even unimaginable right now.
Just look him up. And, his books out there are very, very good. I'm really anxious to get your books and sell them.
Well, next time I'm up with Greg, I'm going to bring copies with me.
Please do.
And I'll tell you, to me, hearing those stories, it just reminds you that we all feel the limitations of our DNA.
Yeah.
But those aren't barriers that you can't overcome. There may be a limitation, but if you put the work in and you've got the mental strength to handle the adversity, there's amazing things you can do regardless of your stature.
Especially as a young person. I mean, I've got a grandson coming up. He is so remarkable. And if I can teach him how to do this younger than I taught my son Jimmy, his son. Yep. I don't know whether he'll choose sports or write music, whatever he does. I'll have him learn how to meditate and go within.
Yeah.
And, well, I'll tell you what, one of the things I've talked to people about when they tell me they can't meditate, I ask them to kind of think about times when they've had really good thoughts. And one of the most common places that people have their best moments is in the shower. What are you doing in the shower?
I agree.
That is a meditative state. You're sitting there and the water's coming down over you and you're relaxed and there's no noise. It's just you and the water, and it's a natural meditative state. Yeah. And so if you think you can't do it, you can do it. You've done it. You just didn't know that's what you were doing.
Yeah. And that's, two things, right? Number one, right? The body, a very well-conditioned body is up to 70% water in volume. And number two, right? Yeah. You're having a shower over yourself. And I go to, right? What do we do in the shower if we're not meditating? We're singing. Maybe, I have to mention, Larry, this is a joke. This is God bless my father, right? My father said, what he tells me, guys? He goes, my father says, singing is the voice of God. Right?
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, that's cool, Dad. And then he follows up. But not necessarily everybody wants to hear your God.
It's your own personal God.
And
yes.
Yeah, the limitations you have in the shower. How long was the hot water? How long was the hot water?
Yeah. And there's some acoustics in there that muffle. It's like a good self-producing reverb. So, listen, guys, Larry, Eric, I'm sure Eric was episode 72 on Imagine Fitting In. Larry has done, now this is his 5th contribution. So thank you so much, Larry. He's become quite the friend and confidant and mentor, and I really appreciate you.
Likewise.
And Eric and I are going forward. We loving having you, and we look forward to even other potential opportunities to do some on-site stuff or whatever. We'll figure that out. But here at One, we are one for all. And again, thank you so much for the contribution. Eric, do you want to lend anything to that?
Well, I first of all, your episodes were great. There's some of the episodes that I've gone back and watched. I have not made it through all of the interviews, but knowing you're going to be here today, the things that you bring to the table at 80 years young, it's really appreciative. And guys, if you're out there watching this, go back and listen again. Just because it happened 30 years ago or 40 years ago doesn't mean it isn't relevant to today. In fact, I would argue it's more relevant than ever that we look back and understand how we got here so we understand where we're going. And mentors like Larry are indispensable. You can't ever get enough great information like that.
Absolutely. I mean, more valuable than any gold pot, whatever, any value.
Yeah.
And I like to think that the Imagine Fitting In podcast, with me featuring artists and athletes in this, when we talk about healthy lives, community, in that we talk about sports leaders, the sports athletes, professions, and that structure, the framework that gives us so much, it helps us with our identity, frames us up for goal setting,
Right.
timing, scheduling, a community celebration. So again, thank you guys so much. Eric, of course, this is season 1, episode 2. Again, Larry, thank you so much. And everybody, please engage with us, reach out. You can find how Eric and our contact information via email or however you want to try to get a hold of us. We'd love to talk to coaches, engaging parents, mentors, anybody who wants to help lead the charge for our supporting our community. And this stuff is timeless stuff. So thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
And
can't wait to shake your hand, Eric. Be good to see you.
I look forward to meeting you, Larry.
We'll make that happen. All right, guys. Thanks so much, everybody. Till next time on One. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Through the tracks, through the soul, combinations of warmth and beauty beyond control. Feel the moment, feel the bliss, watchful seconds, holding more than this. Through the tracks, midnight glows.